So for Mix and Move, do you think we can like bring puppies to Mix and Move, like here? Yeah, puppies. Puppy.
Oh, hey! Didn't see you there, but we're so glad you're here. We have some really exciting news for Mix and Move this summer.
That's right. Mix is coming here. Everything you enjoy about the experience. Outer Realm, the games, the fun, all your friends, all that's going to be here at Mountain. So make sure that you sign up and that you don't miss it.
That's true. Mix is coming here, but Move is literally bussing in here. Listen, it's going to be awesome. They're bringing their bands, they're bringing their speakers, they're bringing their program all to us. It's going to be awesome. We are an official Move venue, so come and check it out. It's going to be amazing.
That's true. It's your best opportunity to do this. It's the cheapest it'll ever be. It's the closest it'll ever be. And I tell you what, at $100, I'm not going to miss it either. There are already 175 of you that are already super excited, so we need some more. Make sure you register.
Make sure you invite your friends. It will be the best week of your summer. And make sure you register at mountaincc.org/camps. Be there.
And remember, when we hit 300, we get to choose Olivia's tattoo!
There's so much of me.
Get that tag! 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 Get that tag!
What's up, Mountain students? I'm here with Frank Ernest, and we are doing this Hot Ones Challenge because we've reached 100 registrations for CIY Mix and Move.
Here we go, guys. Thai chili, hot El Yucateco chili habanero, mango habanero. This is the Melinda's Ghost Pepper Sauce, Blazin' from Buffalo Wild Wings. This is the Scorpion Pepper Deadly Pepper Sauce. And then on the end is the bomb Beyond Insanity. This is a little concerning though, because this says more than one drop is suicide. So I don't know how that's gonna go. So yeah, as unforgiving as the scorpion sting. Good flavor. A little hotter, I guess.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
2?
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. Not bad.
If you were given a 1-minute ad slot during the Super Bowl, what would you fill it with?
Geico Gecko. Let's get it. Let's go. So what we have here is the Tropical Pepper Co.'s Deadly Pepper Hot Sauce. It's the Scorpion Pepper one. And on the back of this bottle, it says more than one drop is suicide. So I might not be able to see this video after it's done. That's the spiciest one. That's the spiciest one.
Can you say 6 sleek swans swam swiftly southwards 5 times fast?
5 times?
Yes.
I don't even know if I can say 1 time.
6 sleek swans swam swiftly downwards. 6 sleek swans swam what?
Swiftly downward.
Swiftly downward. 6. I can't do it. That has an atomic symbol. Can we get that? Can we get that here? Oh my god.
It says this sauce is the hottest on earth. Pure habanero extract. The extracts are wicked. Infused with flavor to create a sauce measured in the millions of Scoville units. Yeah, it's
okay.
Don't use all that.
This might be it.
Oh, Greg's going for it.
Slowly got me. Whew, okay, guys. Frank and I nearly burned our mouths off. If you want to see more of these kind of challenges, go to mountaincc.org/camps and sign up for Mix or Move today.
60 seconds with Ellie. Pick one. Favorite soccer move?
Move. My favorite soccer move is to not do any moves and run as fast as I can past people.
Would you rather have 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife, or always have a knife but never be able to use spoons?
Oh, I need a spoon. I need a spoon. So I think you can use a spoon really forcefully and make it work as a knife.
What does the word bless mean to you?
I think of the word bless as kind of like a subcategory of the way that we love people.
Where have you seen blessing in your life now, or previously you have not seen blessings?
I think sometimes I struggle to identify what actually is a blessing, and a lot of times in hindsight I can look back at something and see it a lot more clearly and see the ways that God's redemptive power has been working all along to like open up those opportunities that wouldn't have otherwise existed. Hey everyone, my name is Ellie. I'm a senior at Milligan University in Tennessee, but I grew up here in Harford County. I graduated from Edgewood High School, and I got to spend a lot of time here in student ministries. And so I'm really excited to be here with you all. I think it's awesome. You're involved in some way or another if you're hearing this. So I'm really grateful for this. And I thought in the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm gonna begin by asking these awesome interactive questions, like what's their favorite food or something like that. And then I realized I wasn't even gonna be able to hear your responses. So I'm gonna leave that for the discussion portion with your groups after. But I thought I would begin by telling you all a really simple story instead. So like I mentioned, I'm a college student, and I lived this past semester with 4 other girls, and we all have different majors in sports, and so we all have very different schedules. But it so happened that on Thursdays around lunchtime, 2 of my roommates and I consistently found ourselves in the kitchen area around the same time. And it became this routine thing where we kind of looked for each other around that time on Thursdays. And it became this time where we shared a meal together. And it was something I began to look forward to. Even if I was really busy, it was like, I'll get to see my 2 roommates even just for a little bit. And so sometimes we were grabbing different leftovers from the fridge, or cramming for a test, or just laughing and hanging out. But regardless, it was something that was really special when I reflect on this semester, and something that really did help deepen our friendships. And the reason I'm telling you this is not to brag about how awesome my friendships were in college, but it's to illustrate the importance of the next letter in our BLESS acronym. So we're in this series where we're talking about blessing our neighbors. And so week 1 was the letter B for begin with prayer. The letter L, we talked about listening to others. And now we're on E, which stands for eat. And I just want to mention really quickly, when I say that, maybe things stir inside of you that aren't so positive, because I know there's a lot of hot button issues around eating, whether you or somebody you know struggles with an eating disorder, or maybe you're extra mindful about how you're eating, or maybe you make jokes about food. But what I just want to say is that while these things are important to educate ourselves about and to think about in relationship to our faith, that's not what we're talking about tonight. We're not really talking about what's on the plate. We're more talking about who's in the chair. And there's something so special about the time around a table that I can't even really explain. But as I go along, I invite you all to think about maybe a positive or warm memory, or maybe a turning point or something for you that has happened over a meal. Because I know for all of us, when we actually do think about it, we can probably come up with a story about the way a meal has changed our lives. And we all remember a time maybe when we were feeling extra special because we were invited to eat with someone, or maybe we felt really terrible when we didn't feel welcome or when we were excluded. And that truth reminds me of Thanksgiving at my family's house, where every year we work hard to have a nameplate for everybody who joins us. When they arrive and look for their place at the table, they know that we've anticipated them coming and we're excited for them to be there with us and that they have a place at our table. Whatever the case is, we know, and I know, that when there's a place for you at the table, everything changes. And I know that even I feel awesome when I look and see my name on one of them, even if I'm the person who wrote it. And that's because eating with someone and having a place at the table is one of the most powerful ways we can bless our neighbors and change the world. Friendships really do deepen over food. You and I both know that there's something different about sitting around a table with somebody versus just standing in the driveway talking or standing by the locker talking in the hallway, because it lends itself to better listening and growth in friendship. I'm reminded from that specifically, and if you've ever eaten public school lunch, you know this is true. It is more than just the nutrition for our bodies. It's something about the nourishment for our souls that's occurring around the table, and it's like makes it more like friends eating together rather than a meeting or a class or something like that. I'm a part of a really cool college-age ministry in Tennessee, and I've been a part of it for several years, and it's been really awesome. But this year, with COVID regulations in place, we were trying to think of ways that we could still bless college students and still be safe and follow all of the rules. And so a bunch of adult and student leaders put our heads together and came up with, we decided to shift from what was like a Sunday after church thing to like an evening meal-centered gathering outdoors. And what happened was just something we couldn't have even expected or prayed for, but just the growth in our ministry and the way that students developed way deeper relationships way quicker, and just the whole culture of the ministry has shifted so much in really great ways. And that I would attribute a lot of that to just sharing meals together consistently. And so I think a lot of times we think of eating as just a simple thing or kind of underestimate it. Maybe it's just a fun thing to do or something we make sure and do on the way to something else so we have our energy that we need. I know that I literally scarf down my food sometimes as I'm driving or walking to class or watching TV or something, and I'm guessing you all can probably relate with one or all of those things. And because those things are so common for us, that's part of the reason why we sometimes miss how important the concept of eating was when we read the Bible. And when we think of a list of ways that Jesus would have blessed people, we probably don't automatically think of eating. You know, maybe weeks 1 and 2 we were like, yeah, you know, Jesus prayed for people, or Jesus listened to people, or he, you know, and beyond those things, you know, he baptized and performed miracles. And we probably wouldn't come up with eating as one of those top ways that Jesus blessed people, but we miss it because eating was actually very central to Jesus' mission of loving and blessing others. When we think about eating in the New Testament, we actually get a window into friendship. It shows us who people cared about, who they wanted to give worth and value and honor to, and kind of even like an indication of social class or standing. So when we look at scripture, knowing this about eating helps us understand why a lot of Jesus's behavior was very radical and even disruptive to the established order, because he broke all these unspoken rules about who is supposed to or allowed to eat with whom. His first miracle happened at a wedding feast. And then maybe you've heard the story about feeding 5,000 hungry people, or maybe when he ate breakfast on the beach with his disciples after his resurrection. We have another really good example of this, of Jesus kind of breaking some of these eating rules in Matthew 9. So if you want to follow along with me, I'm in Matthew chapter 9 and verse 9. In this place, Jesus is interacting with a man named Matthew, who is a Jew turned tax collector. And here he asks Matthew to follow him. And this whole interaction raises some eyebrows. And then they set up a meal, and that's where I'm going to pick up in verse 9, which says, "As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. 'Follow me,' he told him, and Matthew got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, 'Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?' On hearing this, Jesus said, 'It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. For I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. So in order to really understand the significance of this interaction, we have to understand that this guy, Matthew, he was a tax collector, and tax collectors had earned themselves a pretty terrible reputation, just a really negative image because they were considered traitors to the Jewish people because they worked for the Roman Empire. And a lot of times they overcharged and even exploited their own people to collect profit off of them. And I don't know about you, but I probably wouldn't be drawn to sharing a meal with somebody like that who is greedy and dishonest. But right away, Jesus calls him and he follows, and their first extended interaction is over a meal. It's not a conversation between them saying, you know, Matthew, here's what you're doing wrong, or Matthew, here's why you shouldn't be a tax collector. It's simply a meal. And what's more is that other tax collectors also came and joined. And we kind of grouped them in with this term sinners, which is actually in quotes in the scripture too, because whatever it means, we know that these people were not acceptable to society and that by the rules, Jesus certainly should not have been eating with them. And the Pharisees, who were just some of the religious leaders in that day, they were some of the first to pick up on that. And Jesus addresses them when he says, "Learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice." And that line is actually a reference from what we know as the Old Testament. And that's something that the Pharisees would have known really well. And so they would have recognized the reference. And so Jesus makes it clear that even though they might have had it memorized, they still hadn't really grasped what it meant because they weren't living it out. They were still very stuck on emphasizing obedience and following do's and don'ts rather than extending mercy, which was a way that Jesus blessed others. So followers of Jesus, like you or like me, sometimes we do have difficulty, just like the Pharisees, showing this kind of love and grace to others. But showing honor and respect for all people is how we bless them. And Jesus demonstrates that here in this story by eating with Matthew. And as a result, his life, his image, his status, all changed dramatically. And I think we can all agree that Matthew was deeply blessed by eating with Jesus. And so to go back to the beginning of this series, eating goes off of listening to our neighbors like we learned last time, and it can be enhanced by praying ahead of time for God to open up opportunities for us to do that. And we're talking about sharing meals with others to bless them, but when we trace this all back to its root and to what motivates us to even do this, we think of another meal too. So just like Jesus invited Matthew and others to join him at the table, Jesus also invites us to share a spiritual meal of grace and forgiveness and blessing and love. Yes, we get to receive these things too. I mean, how else would we continue to get filled up to give that to other people? The very thing that Jesus chose as a symbol to remind us of him is food. He said to his disciples, "Eat this bread and juice, everyday stuff. Sit down and eat it together so that you can remember me." And we practice this meal of communion, this beautiful sacrament, every Sunday at Mountain if you're ever here on Sundays. There's examples of it all in the New Testament, but we can't miss this invite that we ourselves get to receive, to commune with God by the grace of Jesus. When we miss that, we're missing the biggest blessing that can possibly come from a meal. Jesus is not called the bread of life for no reason. He's the sustaining nourishment our souls need, and we get to share that with each other when we accept that invitation. And I know when I say that, maybe you have in your head a whole list of excuses or hesitations that come up really quickly about, oh, like, I'm not much of a cook, or I'm not allowed to have people over, or it would be super awkward to eat with someone I don't know, or I'm too busy, or I don't know how to invite people, or whatever it is. It's really not about what you're eating or where you're eating it, although those things can be helpful. It's about who you're eating it with. And I know no one wants to have an awkward meal or anything, but I want you all to think about being present with people and use eating as an opportunity to listen and to learn about somebody. I know families can have a really hard time finding time to eat together, mine included. But I want you all to start thinking about the structure of your schedule when you have practice or other events. If you take a step back and you think and you eat 3 meals a day times 7 days in a week, that comes out to 21 times a week. Which I say that number not because we're all gonna have exactly 21 meals, but just to kind of give a glimpse into how many opportunities we have to think about carving space out to share that with other people. Sometimes it will happen naturally, like it did with my friends, like I shared in the beginning. But a lot of times it takes effort and planning and intentionality and all of those things. And though it's kind of hard sometimes, we end up feeling really grateful for sharing meals together and engaging in table fellowship. It helps us communicate, hey, I want to do life with you. I want to extend friendship and conversation and closeness to you, rather than just like wanting something from people. It's not just offering that food. So what if we did just set aside 1 or 2 or 3 meals a week? I want you, as we finish up, take a moment to reflect on all of these things. Who do you normally spend your time eating with? I know there are hurdles because of the pandemic, and hopefully those will continue to fall down. But if you're wanting to follow the way of Jesus, we have to accept this invitation. So let's start thinking about ways that we can use our eating times to bless those around us. Especially maybe those who are thinking about, maybe you have someone in your head who you know is hurting or isolated, whether that's in a cafeteria in your neighborhood, or even in your own family. Think about the ways that we can engage those types of people through a meal. Think about maybe also how we can shift what happens when we do eat in the meals that are already happening. Can we ask people how they're actually doing? Or maybe even how we could pray for them instead of just joking around the whole time? How many of those 21 meals are we willing to share with other people? Let's take advantage of the meals that are already happening. If it's a family one, leave the phones out, turn the TV off, whatever you need to do, lead the way, and start recognizing those opportunities to think about meal times differently. How can you leverage your meal times to bless those around you? This is a really rich and beautiful biblical concept, and we've been invited to take part in it. We've been invited to join the table, and it's so beautiful when we get to turn and invite others. So, leaving here today, my challenge to you all is really simple. You're gonna go talk about this with your group, but as you eat tonight, have a good conversation with 1 or 2 people in your student group and practice listening to them. We worked on that a little bit last week, but sometimes sharing a meal can actually make that easier. And remember, blessing requires eating together because it signifies honor and love and acceptance. Let's talk about that in our groups now.